To the Brooklyn Tea Party for our June 22nd, 2025 meeting. Today we're going to have State Senator Steve Chan, who was recently elected last year, right? Last year for State Senate. It's been a long time since we had a full state senator since Marty Golden, which was, I believe, the last time was 2018 or so.
Thank you.
You know, each and every day we're trying to gain inroads in Brooklyn. We have 3 assemblymen, we have a state senator, city council seat. So let's hope we could keep on continuing and building upon that with Republican and conservative candidates, because at the end of the day, this city is totally out of control. We are in a spiral if we're going to have that new guy running for mayor. What's his name again?
Zohan.
Yeah, him. The socialist. Huh? Wouldn't that be grand? Well, we hope we have Eric Adams, oh God help us. But what could you choose? I mean, Curtis, of course, but who knows? In a 4-way race, you never know what could happen. So with that being said, we need to continue on building on that foundation so we could keep on making this city hopefully go back to sanity, because it's totally insane. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, please give a round of applause for our guest speaker for today, State Senator Steve Chan.
Hi everybody, it certainly is a pleasure to see everybody here today, and certainly a pleasure to be here. Now, I've been trying to be here for a little while, and it's been, you know, just as my luck would have it, it was actually the longest session year in Albany in the last 20 years or so, because of the budget delays by 45 days, and we haven't seen that delay by that much in 15 years. And there was a lot of components about the budget that I didn't like. But first, I'm going to tell you a joke that I told last night at a party. There was a rabbit and a snake. They were upstate, going to the bathroom together in the forest. And the rabbit said to the snake, "Excuse me, sir, you know, I've never seen a mirror in my life. I don't know what I am. Can you tell me what am I?" And the snake says, "Oh, well, okay. Well, you have beautiful white fur, and you got this fluffy little white tail. You have beautiful pink nose, and you have these beautiful long ears. Wow, you're really beautiful. You're a rabbit." The rabbit being very, very happy to hear that. And the snake says, you know, while I'm at it, can you tell me what I am? I've never seen a mirror either. And the rabbit says, well, let's see. You're slimy. You're low to the ground. You slither. You look evil. You're mean. You got this hissy tongue. You got these big fangs. Oh, I know. You're a politician. So anyway, that's just something I heard along the way, right? So the moral of the story is nobody wants to hear from a politician. Nobody wants to hear from a politician. I look at myself as the neighbor that South Brooklyn chose to represent me, to bring their voices, bring their feelings and sentiments to Albany. And when I went up there, I was very vocal. I think I said more in 2 weeks than my opponent, my former opponent, my predecessor did in 2 years. I wasn't happy about the foundation aid. We got short of $54 million. That's the arts and enrichment music programs for our kids in their schools. That's $54 million. All I know is HOCO had initially suggested the foundation aid formula to be very low. We fixed that, and it became quite high. And she had a lot of $94 million extra dollars to our schools for enrichment programs such as that, after-school programs, music, other activities, art. Things that make kids like to go to school. That's very important, because when kids like to go to school, that's half the battle. They're in school. That's the hardest part, get them to school. When she's short, well, she had $597 million. The next thing I know, the Senate 1 budget, there's $54 million missing from that. I'm like, where the hell's the money? Well, apparently it went to other counties, other cities, like Rochester, like Yonkers. But I was very unhappy about that, so I was very outspoken on that. I voted no on that bill, by the way. I said right on the Senate floor, I'm voting no on behalf of South Brooklyn, because that shorts us, this borough, by about $11 million. And you know, we got to fight for every penny, because especially now, we have an influx of non-English speaking students. They're here. I get it, right? Some of them are stealing in education, some of them are not. Regardless, I do believe that they deserve an education, and we do have to help them, but it makes it a little bit harder when we're shorted the money. So next year, we're going to fight for that some more. We're going to try to increase the foundation aid. I'm a steadfast proponent of education, as some of you folks are having. I volunteered in our schools for 10 years as a member of the school leadership team, as well as the Title I chairperson in PS 112. I was the PTA president over at Kristen McCullough Middle School. And that's how I got into politics, unfortunately. I was just a happy PTA president in McCullough, dealing with 1,000 Title moms and dads. And if you know that school, that's what they are. They're all Title moms and dads. So they kind of mentioned me to the GOP and they approached me. And I said, no, I'm not running for this. I'm retired. You guys know I'm a cop 27 years. In fact, I was a patrol supervisor right here in this precinct for 3 years. I said, no, I'm retired. And, this is like Shawshank Redemption. I got out of jail after doing 27 years. I'm enjoying my time. But the straw that broke the camel's back to me was when Eric Adams, unfortunately, a friend of mine, I'm sorry to say, shut down James Madison High School to put the illegals in. And that infuriated me so much. That's the day that I threw my name in the hat, and a year later, here I am.
Really?
Yeah. That's the straw that broke the camel's back for me. Yeah, well, I knew a lot of kids that went from our middle school to that school. Those kids need an education. They want to go to school. Some of them need to eat lunch in school. Some of them, their parents have to go to work. They can't stay home and babysit the kids. So the point I'm getting at is there's a lot wrong with our state. Slowly, in the last 7 years, when we lost the Republican majority in the Senate to the Democrats, everything was on a downhill spiral with one-party rule. When you have a governor, the Senate, and the Assembly, one party, everything passes. Every ridiculous law that you can think of. We have a senator in our Senate. Every single law she introduces protects the criminals. And we have another senator. Every single law she introduces protects the illegal immigrant. In fact, she's so proud of it, she tells everybody she feels the need to remind us every day that her parents are illegal immigrants.
Wow.
Great.
Nice.
Great, that's fine. But you know what? Be grateful. Why can't you be grateful? I'm grateful. But you know what? I stood up on the Senate when another senator said, we have to put he held a press conference in the hall and said, we have to protect the immigrants. They're immigrants just like us. And I screamed from the other side of the hall. I said, hey, Senator, are you speaking for me? Because I'm the immigrant. I'm the real immigrant. Senator, can you tell me why my wife's brothers and sisters have been waiting for 14 years for an immigration visa while everybody else skips the line? Why doesn't my family or my wife tell them, they're from Malaysia, by the way, why wouldn't I tell them to go across to Mexico or Canada and walk across the border? Why wouldn't I tell them to get a visa, come over here, and just overstay your visa? Because we do things the right way. Do I believe there should be a path to citizenship? Maybe, maybe not. Legal residency? Yes. Who? Well, I know plenty of people in my neighborhood in South Brooklyn. I know families that came from Ecuador, Guatemala, China, wherever it is that they're from. They're here 30 years. They raised a family. They've never been in trouble with the law. They're humble. They're nice. When you see them, when you're walking your dog or walking down the street, they're nice to you. These are the people that's not peeing on the side of the street. They're not breaking glass bottles. It's not 3 beers and it's stupid time. Those families, I believe, should have a path to permanent residency, not citizenship. We should also have a path, just like Singapore, just like Hong Kong, just like Japan. They have contracts where a pizzeria can have these recruiting agencies to go to, let's say, Guatemala. Let's use them for an example. They can have a contract and you work minimum wage for 5 years here for my pizzeria. When that contract is up, if you don't get renewed, or if somebody else doesn't hire you, you return to your country of origin.
Should be sponsored.
That is, it is. It's a little different than our H-1B visa program. We do have such a program. Our H-1B, right, enables us to hire people from overseas. And by the way, when you see an Indian doctor out there, right, that came on H-1B, those are the best in India. They're not your run-of-the-mill doctors. Those doctors are their best, and that's how come they got hired to come here.
The Brahmanic medical institute too.
Yeah, okay, so I don't knock and Indian children are just incredible students. You watch the National Spelling Bee? My daughter was a champion 3 times in her school. However, right, she's nothing comparing to those guys. But anyway, so yeah, do I believe there should be some kind of a path to permanent residency? Yes. Do I believe that ICE should come in here and get rid of our illegal criminal aliens? Absolutely. Absolutely. These are the guys that's not humble to be here. They're not grateful to be here. They're not here to be your friends. They're not here to work hard. They're here to take. They're here to steal. They're here to destroy. Lincoln Riley didn't have to die. We let him go. So I'm absolutely against New York State being a sanctuary state. I'm against, as a police officer, many times we have criminal aliens that we couldn't even notify ICE. You have to let them go. And it pains the police officers to know this and say, what are you talking about? I remember I was still a boss on the job in the Brooklyn South ECT unit. It's like a crime scene unit out of the 6-1 precinct. When I saw the new bail reform laws, me and my boss, we thought it was a joke. And any police officer at that time in 2019 could have told you that this was going to happen. This was going to happen. Chaos. People doing everything and getting away with it. They're getting let go. So there's a lot of things wrong with our society lately. We have this influx of homeless. And where do you think those homeless people came from? It's the criminals we've been letting out on bail reform. Years ago, I always knew, interacting with the homeless people down in the Bowery, down on Allen Street, Pike Street, that a lot of those guys were like Shawshank. They got let out of jail after doing 25 years. They have no means to make a living. They become homeless. But just because they're homeless doesn't mean that there's some poor soul that ran into trouble and ran into hard times. That's far and few in between. Most of them are former career criminals. And likewise, I grilled Adams in Albany back in February when it was time for the budget talks. We called him up there. I got a chance to question him for a few minutes, about 5 minutes. I said, well, what's your sense of reasoning? Why are you building a homeless shelter 15 feet away from the subway at a time when we see people being burned alive, pushed onto the tracks? These people get pissed off. They get kicked out of the homeless shelter. They're going to go into the train. They're going to see the first kid they see or first elderly person they see and push them right over the tracks. What is your sense of reasoning? And I said to him, if you watch the clip, I said to him, right now you're retrofitting a storage unit in the Bronx into a 2,200-bed migrant shelter. Why don't you give it to our homeless first? I asked him that. I'll tell you why. Because him, de Blasio, and their cronies and their buddies found ways of turning homelessness into a huge business. And I even told him it costs you $22,000 a month to service one homeless person. Why wouldn't you just give the guy $6,000 a month, save the 18 grand, right? And let them take care of themselves. They can do it on $6,000.
You can now build a hotel.
The reason is that 16 grand is going somewhere else. That 18 grand is going somewhere else. It's going to somebody else's pockets along the way. Imagine a tree growing out of the ground. It's called a homeless tree, everybody. Right? And the fruit is money. And everybody's picking that fruit along the way. And the homeless is the one that actually gets the least of that money growing out of that tree. And that's some of the problems that we have. Another problem we have is all of a sudden now the good guys are the bad guys and the bad guys are the good guys. There was a bill that we voted on in the last few days of the session this year. I don't know if you guys are familiar. It removes the power of citizens' arrest from you. I looked at it, I said, that's crazy. No, we're not going to remove citizens' arrest. I voted no. Every Republican senator voted no. About 5 or 6 moderate Democrat senators voted no, but the bill passed. Let's see if Hochul signs it. Let's see if it passes Assembly. I don't think it's going to pass Assembly. I don't think it did in the last couple of days. I didn't check on it. For some reason, it was always the other way around. The Senate had more common sense than the Assembly. Now it seems like it's the other way around. Like with artists. Oh, I shouldn't say his name. A senator, right, that accident on Ocean Parkway where that female mowed down and killed a family of 3. Yeah. Well, he wants to punish the car. He wants to punish the car. Just like when there's a mass shooting, the left wants to punish the gun. Right? he wants to slow the cars down. So if there's a car that gets caught running a red light or a speeding camera in a multitude of violations over the last, let's say, 18 months, a certain amount, he wants to slow the car down. He wants the car to have a limit in it so that it can't go over 25 miles per hour. Strangely, a few bills before that he had mentioned, it was in regards to reckless driving. What he said was a reckless driver is always going to be a reckless driver, no matter what car he's driving or where he's driving. So I said, you know, you mentioned that a reckless driver is always going to be a reckless driver. Likewise, a speeding driver is always going to be a speeding driver. He can put that car in somebody else's name. He can rent the car. He can drive somebody else's car. He's still going to be a speeding driver. You slowing that car, all you're doing is punishing that car, and it's useless. We got to revamp it. We got to put a fine on that driver. Arrest the owner of the car and get the information. Who was driving this car going through this light all this time? Right? Make his insurance rates a little higher. Right? So there's a multitude of things that we can do to slow people down. But slowing the car down is definitely not the answer. There's going to be times when you're going to need that speed to avoid accidents. There's times when you're evading somebody evil. There's times in emergency that you're going to need the speed in the car. It's just not the right thing to do. What's to stop somebody from putting the car in his wife's name? Now he doesn't have the car. He's driving his wife's car. Still speeding. So there's a lot of things wrong. And what we need, I see what we need. We need a Republican governor in the short term. That's what we absolutely need. I had lunch with Elise Stefanik the other day on Manhattan. It was very powerful lunch with Curtis Sliwa and Robert Hord. And
Definitely gonna run, huh?
and it's a powerhouse of people. Now, yeah, in fact, I was asked to be on the host committee. Mike Lawler is also a great candidate. They seem to think that he might do a little bit better, faring against Hochul. Right? But I can guarantee you two things. There are positives. One, that in 2027, Hochul is not going to be our governor. She is just a poor leader. She has no idea what she's doing. She doesn't she's not touching our community. She's not feeling it. She's not listening to it.
She got reelected. She didn't get elected.
Oh, she's doing.
She got reelected because she was lieutenant governor.
Yeah. She's not going to be our next governor.
Resign.
And the other
Resign, that's why she's out of touch.
Absolutely.
She wasn't.
And the other thing is that Eric Adams is not going to be our next mayor. So now we have two choices for mayor, right? So I befriended some people in Albany, females. It seems like I'm a pretty popular guy. So. And I speak to them, and I said, hey, tell me, I wasn't here, but you guys were. The things they say about Cuomo, is it true? Every last one of these females told me, yes, it is.
Yeah.
I can say that.
Okay. So we have to think about it, right? Who has betrayed us in the past? Who let all these bad guys out of jail? Who signed bail reform? Right? Who sent all our beloved old folks to the senior homes? And who gave $16,000 each to the illegal immigrants when they didn't get COVID relief?
Cash bail.
$16,000 each. I know families that collected $64,000, $48,000 just because there was, let's say, 3 illegal immigrants working with ITIN, individual taxpayer ID number. Right? They got paid $48,000. I didn't get $48,000, did you? Right? I got maybe $2,000, $3,000. Right? But that's, by the way, that's a lot of these cars that are unregistered, uninsured. That's where they came from. When they gave them the money, they went out and bought cars. Soon they couldn't afford the insurance anymore, and they dropped the insurance. And then now you have a bunch of cars out there. It's estimated that about 40% of the cars in South Brooklyn are not insured.
Wow.
And that's why your insurance rates, chances are if you get into an accident, the other car's not insured. There's a very high chance. So your insurance will have to eat it, and that's why you're paying $5,000 a year. So there's so many things wrong with our state the way it is. We keep trying to tell them, you shut down Indian Point nuclear power plant. If you look at my Facebook page about the heat wave that's coming, my little girls, 2 little girls, they're pretty good students, together they did a 6-year study of the ecological effects of the Indian Point nuclear power plant. And my older one, when she was 10 years old in 2020, saw today coming that we're going to be short on electricity.
Wow.
25 to 34% short, and she was 100% correct. Me as a senator now, I speak to the energy people, and that's what they're telling me. We didn't have a backup plan. We have no new sources of electricity. We're still buying it from a company named Entergy, which owned Indian Point. Only this time, they have to deliver it through the lines from Ohio, Pennsylvania, Canada. We're paying the same company double what they were charging us when they had IPAC under operation. And the reason why they closed it, Cuomo gave them the ultimatum, modify your plan or get out. So they said, okay, screw you, get out. They did a huge research. They hired a company called Enercon to conduct a survey of what needs to be done to modify Indian Point nuclear power plant to make it come into compliance with the environmental laws that we have. Can be done. $4 billion, 5 years. Entergy says, no. Okay, we'll shut it down, thank you. So, all right, so we got into
The double size of it.
pissy match. Well, they had to build modern water cooling towers instead of using the water from the Hudson River to cool the reactors. That's the main thing. That's the main thing. So we get into a hissy fit match with Entercon, so they left. And now we're short 1,100 jobs in the Buchanan, New York area, high quality jobs, 10,000 jobs countrywide that was linked to Indian Point, and we're paying almost double for what we did about 6 years ago for electricity. And there's more coming, folks. There's a war on natural gas. You know that, right?
Yeah.
By 2030, right, they're going to start shutting down the gas on us. They're not even, and we were fighting it. We're debating it. We held press conferences, and I don't think it's going to happen if you ask me, right? So I say don't worry yet, and they won't be able to turn off the gas.
It's only for new
These are pipe dreams.
Only for new construction.
No.
You can't shut down the old ones.
No, yes they
You
are.
have to build.
Trust me.
Psychotic New York.
Trust me, what they're gonna do, so they started introducing bills that says, okay, do we need the homeowner's consent if we're gonna shut down the gas in zones?
No.
Right, and the bill passed, the answer is no. So that's phase one. It's just like a casino in Metropolitan Park. We didn't pass a bill to build a casino, we passed a bill to rezone the parklands. So it comes in phases. You see that in the last few days of the session, they introduced about 500 bills. In the middle of the night, we were so tired, we didn't even know what we were passing. We were so sick of debating. We didn't have time to debate it anymore. And I was just, at the end, I was just voting down on the last because it was going to pass anyway. It was going to pass anyway. They vote like a wolf pack. Even the moderates were voting with the far left. So that was a big problem. So they will start to shut down the gas, and if you ask me, they're going to try to shut it down in Manhattan first, because they preached it.
Where are they going to get the electricity to replace?
That's what I said. They said, well, we're going to have green energy, green this, green that, we're going to have windmills, we're going to have solar, we're going to have this, we're going to have that. Right? So we passed a law to ban like plastics in packaging, right? But the same plastics are on solar panels.
Paid gas.
Natural gas. They're trying to put Con Ed and National Grid out of business for some reason. They hate them. So they're going to,
It's crazy.
I don't know, early in the year, we passed a bill to fine these fossil fuel companies for what they've done to our environment for the last 100 years. But how the hell do you know what they did to us 100 years ago? You know that, right? Did you hear about that? So we passed a bill to fine the fossil fuel companies, American fossil fuel companies in the last 100 years for the damage that. So we said, wait, so what about BP? Are we going to fine them? They said no. And what about Lukoil? Are we going to fine them? They said no. What about, these foreign-owned companies? We're not going to fine them. We're only going to fine Exxon. Right? We're only going to fine, well, Shell is not, it is now, but it wasn't an American company. So it was formerly not an American company, it was a Dutch company. So what are you going to do? You're going to fine them for, how do you figure out, right, what they owe us in the last, let's say, 30 years? They said, oh, we're going to let DEC figure that out. Well, who the hell is DEC? How the hell do they know? Were they here 100 years ago? So those are some of the ridiculous bills that they've been pushing through, and they're trying to push through.
Trying to destroy capitalism.
I don't know what they're doing. I learned a lot in my first 5 months up there. Our financial records are public information. You can take a look at it, right? If you take a look at the Democrats and the Republicans, it looks like none of the Republicans really need a job. But if you take a look at the Democrats, this is their job. So that's the problem right there. And I don't think our founding fathers meant for our country to be ran by career politicians. It is meant to be ran by citizens, neighbors, people like me, people like you. So with that said, that's what I encourage. I encourage people to come out and appeal to the masses. Right? You know, when I ran my election, people looked at me. A lot of them didn't know my name. They said, that guy did what? He worked in a sweatshop? That guy did what? He was a cop for 27 years. He was a U.S. Marine. Well, I'm voting for that guy. That's all they knew, that guy. So, you know, a lot of people here, and your friends, and your family, they're running a campaign right now. They don't even know it yet because they're building themselves a resume. There is that guy. There's another Steve Chan out there that can appeal to Democrats, Republicans, and moderates. You know, a bunch of Democrats voted me into office, not just Republicans and conservatives. There's, what, 13,000 registered Republicans? I got 30,000 votes. But most of my vote didn't come from the Republican Party. Assuming they all voted, that's only 13,000. Assuming every conservative voted, that's only another 2,700 or so. So 15,000 to 17,000, maybe more, had to come from the Democrats. And somebody, you yourself or somebody you know, are going to appeal to the masses. And I'm very, very happy to see that South Brooklyn is finally coming to their senses. They realize that you know, we need people that has common sense. Right? We were a peaceful neighborhood, we were a great neighborhood, but systematically people maybe they're jealous out of jealousy, whatever it is, they're trying to pick our neighborhood apart. So now we're very fortunate to have some great elected officials working together right now in South Brooklyn. There's of course myself, there's first of all, I'll say this before I name any more names, right? I don't agree with every elected 100% of the time, but I find myself agreeing with most of their ideology. And when that happens, yes, we can work together. If I agree with 60, 70% of what they're doing, that's great, we can work together. Susan Schwab likes Cuomo. I don't like Cuomo. I know what she's trying to do. She's trying to help Cuomo get rid of Zandani. Okay, I'll give her that. I won't interfere, right? But we agree that our neighborhood is a mess. We agree that you know, the crime is rampant. We agree that our children is being cheated in the school system. So you know, even Bill Clinton, Lester Chang, David Carr, Sam Parazzolo in Staten Island, Andrew Lanza, we all see eye to eye on those issues. In South Brooklyn and Staten Island right now, even Jessica Spann, I've been working with her, right? So I got up to Albany, I picked up the bill that everybody's been ignoring for 2 years to restore the 20-year retirement for the cops. Me and Jessica walked into every office, we pushed it, we told them why it's important to give the cops back, this is what they need. You know, you already defunded them, people hate them, morale is down, nobody wants to come on the job, and we pushed it through. They got their 20-year retirement back. And that's only the start. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to get their qualified immunity back. Yeah. We're tying up their hands.
Oh, yeah.
Right? They can't even punch somebody in the head. I did that plenty of times as a cop. You know, I was a pretty active cop. And I was a police officer for 10 years. I arrested 200 people. That's a pretty good average. And I only got one CCRB. Right? I yelled at a black kid. I cursed at him. I did. So when people heard that, when my opponent threw that out, they said, that's all he's got? That's great. I'm voting for him. So yeah, there are cops out there that are great cops, right? And we need to support those guys. I brought the NYPD's Asian Jade up to Albany. I honored them. I gave them a resolution. Right? And these cops make it easy for the other legislators to defend them. We can say, what the hell are you talking about? These cops are great. They're helping us every day. Right? Look at Detective Win Jung Lu and his parents. Right? What a sacrifice that family made to our community. And from day one, me and my cops were there for that family, and nobody saw that. I was never on the news, but I'm the guy that brought food to that family for the next 6 months, every day, from my cousin's restaurant. Stories like that you never hear. The news is not going to say, this restaurant, Ho Wong Chinese restaurant, donated 6 months worth of lunches and dinners to the Wen Jian Lu family. They're not going to say that, they're not going to tell you that. But I knew that, because I'm the guy that brought it from there to the family every day. The news is not going to show you cops out there shoveling their driveway in the winter, free of snow. They're not going to show you that. But my cops was out there shoveling their snow. They still do. right? So the little things that people don't see along the way, it's very important. That's why in my campaign, you rarely see me on the stage. I don't speak a lot on stage. I'm up close in person. Last night at my fundraiser, I spent about 5 minutes on the stage and 4 hours on the floor. So you can only raise hands, listening to them, talking to them. And that's what it takes. In the local level, elected officials arena, we get up close, we get personal, we let people talk, we listen to them. It's the same conversation as I'm walking my daughter's dog and the neighbor's complaining to me. You see those guys in the scooter riding around here lately? It's the same conversation. All we're doing is bringing that conversation up to Albany and bringing it to the police department. The police have been great, by the way, in removing these scooters. There's thousands and thousands of them. I personally went to the lot over in the 6-8 precinct and 6-2 precinct, and it's completely piled, roof to floor, ceiling to floor in scooters. They have no space for it.
Be careful that batteries in.
So, yeah, there was also, right, we also passed a legislation in the Senate that forbids the sale of mopeds in New York City. It's in the Assembly. I don't know if it's going to pass over there. I don't know if the governor's going to sign it. Those things need to be controlled. There's a lot going on. There's a lot going on. But the important thing is we have to get a Republican governor, a Republican mayor, and a Republican Senate. All this time, New York State's Republican Senate was the majority 65 out of the last 75 years. And that was the saving grace of New York. When we lost that, that's when everything went like this. And that's why we need to work hard. We need to get it back. I'm here. Queens is ready to turn red. I know that. I got a few good people out there. They're getting ready to enter the fray. There's a guy like me. There's other Steve Chans out there. Yes, there is. We got to find those guys. We got to find those guys. Get them out there. Get them on the ballot.
Steve, can you take some questions from?
Of course.
Senator.
Just like Nicole Malliotakis has become our voice, even though she's only one person among the whole city, her voice resonates all the way to the Bronx, to Staten, everywhere. You, my friend, are becoming the same thing.
Thank you.
You are our voice in the Senate.
You know why they love me in the...
And they're listening to you.
Yeah. You know, I don't know if you noticed, but whenever we have a press conference, they stick me on the podium because, and I don't like this, right? Because I find myself defending white people. We'll get back to that in a minute. They love putting me up there because I can say things that they can't. Apparently nobody wants to hear from a white Christian male or female Republican. They get attacked. Well, I'm not that guy.
Always flip it around. Yeah.
I told a story in the Senate of how our family was here in the days of the railroad, went back to China, couldn't get back in again until 1968, and that was because of a white man named Kemp, who was an executive at the Singer Sewing Machine Company, who befriended my uncle, who was working in the factory as a tool and die maker, manufacturing parts for Singer. That guy said to my uncle, would you like to come live in Binghamton and work for us? We'll bring your whole family over there. How great was that guy in 1968 America? A white man says to a Chinese man in Colombia, would you like for me to bring your family to America? So how are you going to tell me that there's systemic racism? Because if there was, my uncle wouldn't have been here. I wouldn't be here today. That's our family's second footstep in America, 1968, Binghamton, New York. And that's how we come to be here. My uncle petitioned my father to come here, and we got here in 1977. And I would love to, I'm still tracking this guy down, by the way. All I have is a name and a company. Singer Sewing Machines, Binghamton, and Mr. Kemp. I did a FOIL request for Immigration and Naturalization, INS it was called back then. And I want to get the paperwork and see if I can find that man or his descendants and tell them, look, you know, it's your father or your grandfather, they brought my family over, I'm the state senator now, right? And that's the story. You know, I grew up over here with Irish families, Scandinavian, Italians, between Bay Ridge and Bensonhurst. I played softball with them. These people walked me along the way. I grew up pretty much like an orphan. However, these families guided me along the right direction. I'm not a gangster, I'm not a killer, I'm not dead. It's because of them. So how can you tell me there's systemic racism? Anytime I hear the word systemic, I link it to the word blame. I link I link it to the word envy.
Link it to the word Democrat.
And I tell my daughters, don't you ever come home and tell me somebody did something to you because you're Chinese. Maybe they did and maybe they didn't, but if you do that, they just slow you down. You just hit the bump in the road that you can't overcome. I never stop to blame anybody. Of course I face racism. Of course I face obstacles. Right? Never let it slow me down. Didn't blame anybody, I just kept going. I sped up, and that's the way to do it. Anybody else? Yes, sir.
I'm Bushwick. You spoke beautifully, and we love you. And I'm a local Brooklynite. I have my own soup kitchen. I take people out of jail. I deal with the homeless people. And well, my question to you is very simple. And I'm a businessman that knows budgets and helps people with the vacates, and I fight your 312 government agencies that try to screw our local residents. I have 3 questions for you. Question number 1, I love you, but you have a $250 billion state budget. You have a $119 billion city budget. Have you reviewed that budget like Doge? Because I have. Just alone with the government agencies of duplicity, you can remove between $4 and $6 billion that you can give back. How simple it is to stop the homeless issue and create, we have 80,000, like you said, of our own homeless people. And you guys done nothing about it. All you've done is throw money other ways. If you would have done what Doge and Congress who are very smart, can sit down and cut down over $50 billion. You know the ways, like you were saying it before. We have problems with food kitchens, soup kitchens, education, private education, health care. You guys are complaining about the immigrants, which I'm against, illegal immigration, but you're complaining about, your crime is not down. We had 2,004 murders last year, 1,900 murders. You guys are so excited that crime and murder is down. 3,900 people were killed.
I'm not excited about it.
I know.
Yeah.
My problem with you, Mr. Senator, is I love you. And I can complain across the board because when I do get to City Council, and I haven't seen you really support the Republicans. I know you're friends with Simcha Felder. I know you're friends with, you can laugh whatever you
I
want.
wouldn't call us friends, but
Carmen Yeager, the biggest crook.
I wouldn't call us friends either.
Okay, and I'm friendly with Simcha who I fight with all the time.
Yeah.
Here's my problem. I don't see you supporting our Republican little people. But I'm going to give you credit for everything, Senator, because I like you.
Yeah.
You're a soldier, you're a man of the people, you've come up from the streets. You're a policeman. Why must our policemen work overtime ever? You have 45 to 50,000 policemen.
We don't.
Put them on 8, we have.
We have 31,000.
But you have so many sitting in your offices doing nothing, that you actually have 45,000 people if you put them properly to use. Give them only 8-hour shifts and not overtime shifts. You're wasting money on $200,000-$300,000 on a guy when your policeman should be making $120,000, $150,000 a year. But if you divide it up properly, maintain their hours properly, a good businessman, and Senator, from all people, I know Mr. Adams, the police officer, you are the smartest of them all. You should change that system, not let it get away. I know you as a policeman over here. I think you ticketed me twice.
No, I didn't, but go ahead.
I know.
I didn't like giving tickets.
That girl who ran over the person and mowed him down, who is not a reckless driver in this room?
Correct.
Including you.
Correct.
I'm not knocking.
No, I'm not reckless. I promise you that.
We all, I'm the greatest driver on the planet, and I know that I've gone through yellow lights or made a right on red or sped up when I couldn't slow down. If you want, you can blame it across the board. I'm disappointed that the girl killed somebody because she doesn't intend to do it. And I've handled 3 cases after that where people actually made accidents, and the city Gonzalez is making us go through felony because of that one case. You have to stop this. But Senator, my problem with you is that homeless shelter on 12th Avenue that you showed up. Remember that homeless shelter on 12th Avenue?
Yes.
Okay. Opened up. A second one opened up. Now a third one is opened up. You've not come back to help him. You've not given them an idea. You've spoken, and Lester Chang, the biggest wacko, I know you're his friend, the man just lies out of his mouth. Now, I came up with a plan how we did. We just hired a lawyer. I'm a DOB representative as well as I have an architectural firm, and I'm going to law school. And I've done hundreds of thousands of administrative law. I can shut that place down myself. You as a senator can have it shut down tomorrow. Why have you avoided it and not gone back and forth and screamed it out? I'm not knocking you, Senator. But I'm telling you, when all the politicians talk and you preach of all the problems that are going on in this city, I don't want to hear you tell me the problems. I want you to tell me what solutions you've come up with. I want you to tell me that you saw that $400 billion in budget and you checked it out like Doge and you're able to knock that down. Because I promise you, if I become city councilman, my people here don't help me, but it's okay. When I become city council, because I haven't had any support, and I'm the only Republican, and our Republican committee, your friend Barsimian, takes money and supports the Democrats. When you quoted me all those Republican names, all supporting Democrats across the board. What I'm telling you now is, I see what you're trying to do. But you're playing a game that I don't think should be right to be played. And I'm telling you now, you, from all the new people, have the power to stop them right in their tracks. Don't tell me they have a majority. You can get up and scream and holler, because when I become city councilman,
Okay, so what's your first question?
my question is, I'm going to give you two across the board. I want to know how you're going to change the homeless issue, because there's a solution, simple, how to fix the homeless problem in this city. 80,000 of our people.
Yeah, okay, with
Not
that,
opening up homeless shelters in Brooklyn.
okay, with that said, I'm gonna go to part one of that question, right? The reason why I haven't been back over here is because it is actually not my district. You know, the ethics is that we
But
don't.
you came.
I came at a time when Simca was running for city council.
Against me.
And there was
Democrat against the Republican.
he really didn't represent the district and the people of
And you guys supported
that district.
You supported
I didn't support it one bit. Okay. I did not support Simca one bit, he's a Democrat.
I know that, your
Okay.
representative that was there did support it. That's okay.
My
I don't
representative,
need-
who?
You sent somebody there, at the time, to that homeless shelter over there.
I went over there.
I know, but somebody
No,
else.
no,
It's
no.
okay.
I was there.
You're mistaken. Anyway, we need to pay the legislators. Holco says, I'm not gonna pass that, right? If the people of South Brooklyn didn't